Nicholas, I'm a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the grey sheet. I write them down, I turn them over to my sponsor. I don't eat between meals no matter what. And abstinence is the #1 priority in my life. And I'm a very happy grey sheeter today. I've just had a visit from my daughter and 3 grandchildren. We got some fruit of ancient lineage from the orchard and put it in a fruit from ancient lineage press and pressed out. Out came some juice, and my grandsons really enjoyed that. My daughter, because I had to explain that, you know, for me that's not actually abstinent. So I just have to enjoy the smiles on their faces. But that was a new experience, you know, and there are so many new experiences in abstinence. My first memory is of eating. I think it was my first compulsion. It wasn't the one that really sort of brought me into recovery, but once I'd been in recovery for about 12 months, I noticed that I was consuming certain baked items rather like I used to smoke, sort of chain smoking. I was chain grazing. I heard about Overeaters Anonymous, and I heard about a simple program of abstinence called a Basic 301. And I did that for 4 years. And it kind of worked for me, I think it did, until I started losing weight. I'd always been overweight. You know, I was pretty big. So when I started losing weight, I found that rather alarming. And I didn't know what to do. I went to the doctor referred me to a nutritionist, and the nutritionist said, eat more. So I did eat more, but it was as if the food wasn't nourishing me. I was eating, but it was like as if my spirit had decided to die. And I think had I not found the grey sheet, I don't think I would have been alive now, because there was just something going on there, which was immediately arrested when I started to weigh and measure my food. Now, to start off with, I mean, I thought that you guys were all there to sort of, you know, catch me out, you know, not being abstinent, you see. It took me a while to realize that actually the fellowship is there to support me. You help me not to think I'm insane because I'm the only person weighing and measuring my food. And, you know, that's just such a relief that there is a fellowship of people out there who do what I do. And one of my favorite pieces from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I'm just going to read now, is from page 152. It says, "We have shown how we got out from under. You say, yes, I'm willing, but am I to be consigned to a life where I should be stupid, boring, and glum, like some righteous people I see? I know I must get along without compulsive eating, but how can I? Have you a sufficient substitute?" Yes, there is a substitute, and it's vastly more than that. It is a fellowship in GreySheeters Anonymous. There you will find release from care, boredom, and worry. Your imagination will be fired. Life will mean something at last. The most satisfactory years of your existence lie ahead. Thus we find the fellowship, and so will you. So the fellowship, it's not kind of unimportant. It's the substitute for compulsive eating, because this was my predicament. You know, as a child and later as an adult, I felt inadequate, unworthy, alone, and afraid. That was my kind of normal state of being. And when I ate, it took that away. It only took it away for a little while, but it took it away. So food became my go-to solution for that feeling of inadequacy, isolation, restlessness, irritability, and discontent. And so when I came into recovery, I had to kind of go through a grieving process, because I was changing my relationship with food So I was no longer able to use it as a drug. It became, actually, and has become, rather more like fuel for the engine. And you know, one of the things that happened to me, because I was underweight when I first came in, I was put on reducing plan to start off with. You know, I mean, just to freak me out completely, I was put on reducing plan. I almost, you know, despaired at that point. But they very quickly, as soon as my sponsor had got a couple of coordinates on my weight, I was put on this sort of rocket fuel, so that and then, you know, my weight went up and up and up until I reached my goal weight. And then, of course, it continued to go on up. And at that point, I had to start having food reductions. Okay. And I had in total 11 food reductions, one after the other. You see. And this is actually not so easy, you know. And I remember my sponsor saying to me, he said, look, just think of it like this. The car needs less fuel to run on. It's cheaper to run. And it's true. I mean, I enjoy my present maintenance plan every bit as much as I enjoyed the rocket fuel. It's just that, I suppose, you know, it's the eyes bigger than the stomach sort of thing, you know, that's kind of problem. That I don't just need to refrain from compulsive eating, I actually need progressive victory over gluttony. You know, I have not just a compulsion, but I also have a defect, which is the defect of gluttony, that my eyes are bigger than my stomach. I want more, you know, and that every time I eat abstinently, I'm actually checking that. It's like I'm putting it into arrest. And you know, that's just such a beautiful thing, that I can eat without gluttony, that I can eat soberly, abstinently. I have just recently moved from the south of England, where I was living for the last 20 years. Yeah, I should say I've been abstinent for 20 years now. I got abstinent down in the south of England in Bournemouth, and I've just recently moved up to the north of England, which is where my family are. So hence the grandsons who are running around the place, fueling themselves on juice from the crusher. And in my local area, at times I had a meeting, but we never quite managed to get the meeting established. I would always turn up whenever there was a meeting. I would always take on some kind of a service role. I would always put something into it. But it's, for some reason, the meeting just never kind of worked out in Bournemouth. But I would go to the conventions, and I also was involved quite a lot in taking people through the steps, either individually or in groups. And that's sort of part of the fellowship activity that I've enjoyed. But I need to have regular contact. I'm in contact, obviously, with people I sponsor who call me every day. I'm in contact with my own sponsor. I'm hoping to be on that Zoom call where we're going to be talking about the clarifications. I found that document very helpful. I personally was pleased that it didn't mean very much change for me. In fact, there was only one thing, I think, that I can think of that wasn't something that I knew. And actually, once my sponsor had explained it to me, it wasn't an issue anyway. But I love clarity. And it's one of the things I really appreciate about GreySheet, that I know what's abstinent. I know what I can eat and what I can't eat. I know how much 4 ounces is, and I can eat without guilt. I leave each meal feeling satisfied and without any sense of remorse that I've either overeaten or undereaten, which is how it used to be before I came into recovery. I would always finish a meal feeling unsatisfied. So one of the other beautiful things for me about GreySheet is it gives me emotional stability. Before, I was taking a lot of carbs, that would have the effect of sort of hitting my emotional pendulum, and it would go flying off. And there was a lot of emotional chaos in my life. Once I started eating abstinently, it's like the emotional pendulum settled down, and it just now gently sort of swings backwards and forwards, but it doesn't go mad like it used to. And that's a huge gift. So, and I can cope with situations that used to baffle me, that used to throw me into chaos. It can just stay calm, breathe through them, and whatever feelings I might be having, I know that they will pass. My feelings they're all real, but they're not all valid, and they're not a reliable guide to anything. What is a reliable guide is the 12 steps and the 12 traditions, the 12 concepts, the program of recovery. And that's been a wonderful journey, understanding that I am powerless over food, that, food for me is like, gluttony for me is like an 18-foot giant. In a fight with an 18-foot giant, I'm going to lose. I'm always going to lose. That's why I need a higher power to take care of that problem, because it's a problem only my higher power can solve. It's completely beyond me. And I had to sort of really come to that for me, this way of living, the compulsive eating, whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, it's over. Okay. I know we only do this program a day at a time, but I don't want to live like that ever again. I want to be abstinent until I die, and I sometimes wonder about how that will be, when I'm really old, will I be able to see to weigh my food, and but leave that one with God. Okay, he knows I want to stay abstinent. I also had to, once I knew I was powerless, I had to find that higher power, because I had a problem only God could solve. And then I had to become willing to change many, many other things. I have over 200 defects of character. First of all, I had to become aware of them, admit to them. Then I had to humbly ask God to remove them. And not only that, but to ask him to replace them with something better. And this is one of the beautiful things about defects. For every defect, there's something better that God has for us. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to actually become willing to surrender all my defects of character, including all the defects that operate around food, which might be jealousy, feelings of self-pity because I can't eat what other people are eating, and so on. All my sexual issues, all of that stuff had to be surrendered so that God could give me in exchange the good stuff that he has for me. And it's wonderful, that's the deal. That's what happens. So, I'm a tremendous believer in participating in the fellowship, getting a sponsor, working all 12 steps, and doing service, give back in some way for what's been given to us. And that, as I see it, this is how it works. This is the deal. If I join the fellowship, get a sponsor, work all 12, do service, and stay abstinent on the grey sheet, God will do the rest. That's my part. He'll do the rest. So far, so good. I'll leave it there. Thank you.